Okay, I'll do a laws lesson on why circumstances don't matter, because I still think even though every single manifestation coach who understands law of assumption doesn't actually teach you why the circumstances don't matter necessarily, and a lot of you get very confused and you're still focusing on the circumstances, so the circumstances actually still matter to you in your mind, and then the circumstances stay there, like third parties, like breakups, like your person telling you to fuck off and die. In this laws lesson, I'll teach you how to really understand that circumstances don't matter and how to make them not matter in your reality. So guys, those of you who've heard that adage over and over and over again, you've heard circumstances don't matter, circumstances don't matter, circumstances don't matter, but a lot of you don't actually understand why they don't matter, why they don't matter. Does anyone here know why they don't matter? Tell me in the chat why they don't matter, because some of you really aren't getting it. Some of you really aren't getting why we keep saying it and why it's something to keep saying for you guys to understand. Now, one of the biggest things is because you guys are focusing on the circumstances, but someone's written here, because you create them. A whole lot of people have already answered. You guys have been listening to me. Because you've manifested it to begin with. Exactly. So guys, if you've manifested it to begin with, can't you manifest it away? What you guys have got to do is like backtrack and understand how you created the shit that's already here. And when you get that, when you finally understand, when the penny drops, oh my God, I created my own breakup. Oh my God, I created a third party. Oh my God, I created my bad money situation. Oh my God, I created that. You'll understand that the circumstance doesn't matter because you're the one who created it. Therefore, all you need to do is change and the circumstance will change. Even our person, like a third party, will go away. Now, the problem is that either people don't understand that they created the circumstance, therefore it doesn't matter, or they're constantly focused and aware of the circumstance, and by purely being focused on it, by being so aware of it, they're keeping the circumstance in place. So there's two problems here going on. Firstly, people don't understand why it doesn't matter and that they're the one who can change it. And then they're still focusing on it, so they keep it there. So you can still you can understand that you created it, but you can still be focusing on it. And you're fucking it up. Are you guys getting that? So you could have created a third party, but you keep asking me questions about third parties, telling me how to banish her away, thinking about her, looking at the social media, seeing them happy together, focus, awareness of the circumstance. And so purely with your awareness, you're keeping the thing there that you created. How did you create it in the first place? What were you aware of to create a third party in the first place? Were you aware your person didn't love you? Were you aware they looked at other people? Were you aware you weren't good enough? Were you aware they weren't committed to you? Were you aware that they didn't love you in your mind? Yes, that's how you created a situation where they left you for someone else. Did you feel less than? Did you compare yourself to others? Did you fear them leaving you? Did you fear them abandoning you? Yes, that's how you created that circumstance. Now you guys are still focused on the circumstance and you're going to keep it in place just like you created it. Stop giving it life, right? It should be like Voldemort. It's never to be spoken of again. But you guys keep speaking of it and asking about it and focusing on it and checking for it and being aware of it and looking for movement about it. There was a girl who the other day argued with me and said something about Worthy as Fuck for Love, my course, is like my self-concept course, and she got the same score. She got the same score because she hadn't done the work in the self-concept course, because I know that because she kept coming into my lives constantly seeking validation in her 3D reality via the circumstances. She'd come in here constantly. She'd be one of the first people to come in here. And if you're watching, darling, and you're probably not watching anymore because you didn't like my email reply, you would understand what I was trying to say. Your constant focus on the 3D and your constant focus on the circumstances and seeking validation that the circumstances were changing was actually keeping the circumstance in place. And that person, if they'd actually bothered to listen to Worthy as Fuck for Love, they would have understood that their issues in love were the same probably as their issues in normal general self-concept, and they still hadn't changed them. And that's why their score, the assessment score, was similar. So what you guys need to understand is, if you guys haven't really worked on your self-concept, right, you'll still get the same circumstances in all areas, including love. But sometimes your love circumstances, your love self-concept will be, I'm getting distracted because my dad put my washing machine on in the middle of a live. I said, please don't make noise, and he's put a washing machine on. Circumstances. I just said don't make any noise and you put a washing machine on. Just leave it off, Dad. Please. Dad? I just said don't make any noise, so you put a washing machine on.
I didn't think that washing machine makes a noise that much. Close the little door, that way you won't hear it.
I can't, but I don't have any internet. Just leave it, please.
Yeah, okay.
Circumstances. Now, guys, how did I make that circumstance? I have a story that my dad's really noisy. I just asked him, just don't be noisy so I can go on the live. So what did he do? Continue to be noisy by turning on my washing machine. I'm very aware that he's noisy. Okay, so let's get back to it. So this particular person who was saying to me, but I got the same score in Worthy as Fuck for Love. Yes, darling, because you hadn't changed. Because you hadn't actually really fundamentally done the work in the first course, and that's why your score in the second course was almost exactly the same. And I could tell from this person's demeanour on the live, and that every single time I went live, they'd be telling me some latest thing. Oh, this happened in the police station today. He looked at me once and blinked at me twice. Movement. It wasn't movement. It was never movement. This girl was reading into whatever she saw, desperately seeking validation constantly in her 3D via the circumstances. If this girl had actually listened to both courses, she would have understood that her constant need for validation was part of her self-concept. That was part of her self-concept problem, right? And she'd never worked on it. And when I pointed it out to her in an email, she got even more upset because I was pointing out even more to her what her self-concept issue was that she still hadn't faced, she still hadn't accepted, and then she got all kinds of shitty and all kinds of triggered. So if she's that kind of triggered in emails, I can't imagine. If you guys are triggered in emails to me, can you imagine how I will think you'll be with your SP? What kind of triggered emails you must send to your specific person if you're sending triggered emails to me or comments to me? So what this person had done, they hadn't become aware of their own self-concept problem. Then what they were constantly doing was becoming very aware of their circumstances constantly and constantly seeking for movement and seeking for validation that what they were doing was working. But what they were doing was by constantly placing their awareness on the circumstance of needing movement, guess what they were doing? Creating absolutely no movement, and their manifestation wouldn't have come anytime soon because they were constantly aware that it was coming. If you're constantly coming on my lives and asking me if it's movement or seeking validation that something that's happened in your 3D is movement, is that telling me that you're aware it's done? That you're in the new reality of you're loved up with your person? Or are you in the reality that you're looking to see if it's coming? So this person was constantly looking to see if it was coming, which was all tied up in her self-concept of needing constant validation because of her self-concept issues of needing a reassurance that she hadn't fixed. Then her constant need for reassurance was keeping her circumstance in place where she had to read every single time a guy looked at her in the office or walked past her desk or sat near her, that she would read it as movement. And the poor girl was keeping herself in the circumstance of her specific person not wanting her because she was constantly seeking validation that he did want her, instead of going right to the end of understanding that all she needed to do about the current circumstance was be in a new circumstance in her mind, which was loved up by them, not looking at the circumstances to see if they've changed. You understand? So this person didn't understand that they created the circumstance of the person not wanting them, didn't understand by constantly focusing on the circumstance of them not being yet with them and seeking for movement, that they were keeping the circumstance in place. And instead they could have just gone right to the end of being with their person and not looking out in the 3D, regardless of what they saw every day, not seeking for validation, and they would have actually got their person by now. And if they'd listened to my course properly. But so many of you are so concerned about the circumstances. And that person's circumstances aren't even that dire. Some of you have dire circumstances, like a third party, like an impending divorce. Now, coming up at the moment in the squad this Friday, 10:30 p.m. GMT on Friday, March 1st. So it's Saturday morning for the Australians. It's very, very late Friday night for the Thursday night for the Americans. So you'll probably all be asleep, Americans, but you can watch it back in the squad. You can come and watch John Johnson's interview. Now, John Johnson, that's not his actual name, but it's his name on TikTok, has been with me a very long time. And he is one of my greatest success stories, and then one of my greatest, I would say, disaster stories. Now, I'll explain. John had coaching back in the day with me when I used to do one-to-one coaching in my first month of being on TikTok. My first month of TikTok, I went live and everyone started begging me for coaching. I wasn't even going to do it, but I did it. I did it only for 3 months. And John had a call with me. We spoke face-to-face like this over video call privately. It wasn't in the squad like my other coaching calls. It was a very emotional call. We both had very, very similar self-concepts. I found it very moving when I would do those calls back in the day and someone was very similar to me. There were some tears, especially from me. And in that call, John discovered all the things he'd been thinking in himself, about himself, that lost his girlfriend. He'd lost her completely. He went away and he decided to really, really work on his self-concept. And he worked on his self-concept like no one I've ever seen. He was so vigilant. He did not let the old thoughts creep in. He stuck with the new thoughts of himself. He really listened to what I said on the call about really working on his core self-concept issues that we uncovered because of his childhood. He got her back. They were blissfully back together. Then they got engaged. We were all so thrilled. Everyone in the group knew of him. Everyone knew the story because he'd always been on the lives. Then they got married. We saw the wedding photos, everything. Next minute, I would say almost a year later, he messaged me to say, we're getting divorced. To say I was shocked would be like the biggest understatement. I felt sick. I thought, how in the hell has this happened? But I know how it happened. Because I had watched him deteriorate in his thinking via Facebook. We're friends on Facebook. And I'd seen a few posts that seemed pretty negative. And I was like, what's this? What's he doing? He knows better than to write shit like this or be concerned about the outside world or concerned about third parties. And guess what he manifested? Not only divorce papers, but the third party he was focusing on Facebook. He knows this, and I'll discuss this with him on the call. He then wrote to me on Messenger, told me what happened, and I said, John, get your fucking shit together. I said this via Messenger. And he knew what he'd done. He knew what he'd done because he'd undone it before. All the shit he'd done before, he fixed. But then his mind went backwards. Now, did he let the circumstance of divorce papers after only like a year of marriage deter him? Don't you think that would be one of the worst circumstances you can possibly imagine? You've just got blissfully, happily married to the girl you got back, and then you've got divorce papers in your hand. I can't think of any worse circumstance that's come up in my group, really. The other day, we're on a live. He said, Loz, the divorce is off. Now, I knew they'd just got back together, but he was telling me officially the divorce is off. Now, an email is coming up this week telling you all about it, but you can actually deep dive into exactly what happened, if he wants to tell us, in his mind that caused the circumstances, if he wants to deep dive into the old story, and he probably will because John's pretty open, okay? And John's also one of our mentors in our group. And he teaches this brilliantly, but there's a difference between teaching this to someone and answering their questions and really doing it. And just for a moment there, some circumstances happened in their 3D that allowed his mind to go backwards. But he knows what he did and he fixed it masterfully. You can turn around any circumstance, guys, even an impending divorce, when you realize that you caused it. You understand? You've got to understand that you're the only cause of your reality, that your circumstances were caused by you. And if you don't get that, you won't be able to turn it around. If you don't get that, you'll be stuck like the other person I was talking about, constantly looking for movement, seeing if the circumstance changes. John wasn't worried if the circumstance changed and kept looking at the circumstance and checking. He just lived in the new reality of being back together with his wife and worked and worked and worked on himself. And I saw the progress of him working on himself. I even saw his gym pics and he was getting buffer and musclier and healthier all on Facebook. I saw it and I knew he'd succeed. I didn't actually think he'd succeed as quick as he did, but he did. And I'm so fucking proud of him. So if you would like to come and watch John's interview, I cannot wait. It's 10:30 p.m. GMT in the squad this Friday. Now, if you miss it, you can watch it back. But if you're there, at the end of the interview, you can ask him questions directly about what he did. You can ask your own questions and I will ask him your questions. I will go through the chat and I'll read them out. And I'm sure he'll be open to answering questions in the chat afterwards if you miss it, just like Holly and Hal, I was about to say Holly. Holly and Hal were last week. So Holly and Hal, another one of my wonderful success stories. She got married to her SP after third parties and getting kicked out of the house. That live is actually in the squad at the moment, and you can go and ask them your questions. They're answering it in the chat, but that live will also go on YouTube this Friday. You can watch it. So guys, I encourage you to come and watch this live this week on Friday if your circumstances are dire or you think your circumstances really fucking matter. Because if John can come back from the brink of divorce, you can get your specific person back. If John can come back from the brink of divorce, you can change your money situation. If they can do it, all my success stories, you can too. So take the success stories, guys, and instead of focusing on the circumstance like this other person that I was telling you about who just hasn't progressed, who hasn't really learned, who hasn't really fundamentally understood that their constant need for validation about the circumstances changing was causing their circumstances not to change. If you're that person, you probably need to really come and watch this interview. I want you to be like John. I want you to realize you are the only cause, and I want you to really do the work to change your circumstances because you can. Okay? All right, guys. I'm going to roll down to your questions. When's the interview? 10:30 p.m. British time, GMT, this Friday. So it's on the UK and Australian time slot because John's in England. But you can watch it back if you're on an American time slot or whatever in the squad. I want more contact with my SP, like text me more and call me more. So stop thinking they don't text you. Stop thinking they don't want to talk to you. So sometimes, guys, when they've stopped texting you, think about all the terrible stories you've got going in your mind. You're actually making it worse. Change all those stories. So no amount of conversations with my partner will change his behaviour if I don't go within. He's literally reflecting your story about him and you. You could sit there and talk to your blue in the face. He won't change because you haven't fucking changed. Please go and watch all my videos about self-concept because you're kind of not getting it. Watch all my videos in the Ask Loz series in YouTube and the Why It's Not Manifesting series. And better still, go and get my self-concept course that's gone back up on my website and be assessed about what you're doing wrong here, darling. I'm crying. That's so amazing. Isn't it so amazing? I'm so, so proud of him. I can't wait. I probably have to have a box of tissues near me, honestly. I'm just so proud of him. You changed my life. Oh, Emily, thank you. Wow, such a good life. Yes, it's going to be great. Such a beautiful story. Yes. You are the only cause, which means you are the only solution. Yes, Sarah. Wow, yes, it is a wow story. Oh, John from the squad. I love him. Yep, John from the squad. So, guys, when you come and join the squad, from now on every Friday, I'm going to be doing live interviews with success stories I've had. We've got so many success stories sitting in my G Drive, like thousands of them, that we don't post anywhere, but they're all collected in different folders. And we're going through and kind of asking people, do you want to do interviews? And we just put a post out the other day and a whole lot of people said, I'll do them, because they're really proud of themselves and they want to talk to us and they want to tell us what they did. And I've been wanting to do an interview with John for ages. But then disaster struck. But he's back from disaster. You need to write a book. Oh, thank you, darling. I will. I promise I will. How? Well, if you come and watch the interview, he'll tell you how. That's the point. And you can ask him questions. Can we manifest someone we've met once? Yes, guys. I've met people I've never even met before. Manifested people into a relationship I've never even met, but I knew of them. The aggression. Yes, guys. Can we manifest someone we've met once? Yes, guys. I just answered you. Loz, we just added SP to my lease. Thank you for teaching me. Oh, really? Wonderful. When's the video? When will she be on? So Holly's already been. So if you go in the squad right now and look up Holly, you can see her interview. It's her and Hal. It goes for an hour and a half. Very in-depth. Oh, excuse me, Kat. For telling you what they did, what she did, what he experienced. So if you want to see from the specific person, look at the circumstance here I'm trying to ignore. If you want to hear from the specific person's point of view who got manifested, go and watch that interview because it's fascinating hearing his side of the story because he has no idea how she did it. And he kept thinking it was against his will. He was like, I don't know how it happened. I wasn't even wanting to see her, but I kind of explained to him what she did and how it got reflected to him and then what he reflected back. And then he was like, oh. It's a great interview. It'll be on YouTube this week, guys. But come and join the squad. You can ask some questions. Why am I here? Relationships start marriage. What are you talking about, Georgie? What's the question? Loz, my friend just got on Hinge and SP started liking her pics. I had no idea he was on a dating app. Well, why are you even focusing on that, darling? Why are you focusing on them being on a dating app? Why aren't you focusing on you and him together in the end? Why are you focusing on the current circumstances? You created the current circumstances. I loved how being there with Holly, we heard the other side. It was, honestly, guys, we have really very rarely heard the other side of the other person's story, the specific person who is being manifested. It's fascinating talking to him. It's fascinating hearing what he thought was happening, which wasn't really happening. Will John's interview go on YouTube? Yes, guys, it'll be up next Friday. So this Friday will be Holly and Hal's on YouTube. The following Friday will be John's. And we've got another great success story the week after. I'll let you know after that. So, guys, if you're not on my email list, go to subconsciousloz.com and sign up for the Loz letter. And there's going to be what interviews coming up every Friday. On Friday, we'll tell you. Every Monday, we're going to have success story emails showing you some of the greatest success stories from the last couple of weeks. And then there's a blog that's going to send you to the success blog. Right? And then we've also got the Loz letter as normal, which is a letter of teachings by me every Wednesday. It's free, guys. I thought John was American. I had no idea he's British. Yes, he's British. What about manifesting someone who does not know me yet? Doesn't matter if they don't know you guys. Circumstances don't matter. Just imagine you two together. Got SP back. Now find it harder to deal with the 3D triggers. How to focus on self-concept. Guys, when they're back, I don't want to say it, but it can be a lot harder. It's so much easier when they're not there triggering you. They have to be there to trigger you. That's when it's more difficult. That's when you have to persist in the new story of you and the new story of them. You've got to be vigilant with your mind, darling. Loz, I've noticed one of my favourite techniques that gets me in the now is the whisper method. Oh, do that, darling. I keep thinking he's begging for me, but I feel delusional. Well, then you're fucked, Adriana. You're really not getting this. Darling, Adriana, have you bothered in the whole time that you've been watching any other coaches actually sat down and realised that this whole thing that you created with him is about you? You haven't, have you? Because you're doing dumb shit like saying, he's begging for me. Have you bothered to sit down and realised what your self-concept issues are that caused him to leave you and go on dating apps in the first place? No? Well, then you've absolutely screwed it and you're not understanding this. And he can't change until you change. And you focusing on him and thinking that he's begging for you will feel fucking delusional because you haven't changed the thinking that caused you to not have him in your life in the first place. You haven't done a single thing I teach. I don't know what dumb bitch you've been watching or if you've been watching me and you haven't opened your fat ears, but for some reason you're not focusing on the right thing and you're focusing on him. And that's why you're feeling delulu, darling, because you're doing the wrong fucking thing. What are you doing? I don't tell you to sit around affirming that they're begging for you. What are you doing? Whose live are you on? This isn't dumb bitch or us. Person who watched all of Loz's videos and thinks she can be a manifestationcoach.com. This is me. And I teach you to change you. Have you fucking bothered to change you, Adriana? Clearly not. That's why he's on a dating app talking to your friends. Can I focus on two fears from kick-ass you and dominant mode from waffle at the same time to focus on one? Yes, guys, absolutely. If you've realised what your dominant love mode is, if you've realised what your dominant fears are, please focus on them. That's the point of the assessment. Rocky's new here, Loz. I just introduced him to self-concept. Oh, good, Rocky. Welcome. Where's Rocky? Has Rocky got a question? Everyone's telling him off, telling her off. Him or her? Them? Where is it? My SP calls me sis. How can I change that? Well, you've got a story. They don't love you, don't want you, aren't attracted to you, aren't sexually attracted to you. Some fucking story. Change it. Change it. How do I make my manifestations come quicker? Oh, Jada, I want to stab myself in the eye with those kind of questions. Please go and watch the video I just put on YouTube called How Do I Manifest Faster? And you'll realise what's wrong with that question. Marriage success, question mark. I can't even have a successful relationship. Well, then you won't, Rocky, because you just said that. Rocky, you don't have successful relationships because you don't think you do or you don't think you will. So you keep manifesting to your reality another failed one because your assumption is the next one will fail. I can't have successful relationships. So until you change that stupid story, you'll keep failing. You'll keep failing. And you certainly won't be getting married. I need your aggression today. Oh, good, darling. Rocky went through a recent breakup. Well, Rocky needs to get their head read and start actually watching my videos because Rocky's all fucking kinds of lost. I got my wisdom teeth removed and imagine me, not in pain, no swelling. I'm thriving. Oh, wonderful, Cindy. What if we Don't feel beautiful. I keep saying I am. Guys, I had to really work on my body dysmorphia massively, and I had to stand in front of the mirror every day naked before I got in the shower and look at my naked body that I hated and tell it was beautiful. Do that. Challenge yourself. Is it focusing on 3D when you take the unfavorable and turn it into positive, if that makes sense? We're not focusing on 3D ever, guys. Why would you focus on 3D? You created the 3D from within. Why are you focusing on out here when out here's dead? Out here's a reflection. What do you mean? I don't get the question. Working on self-concept with affirmations like I'm an entity like no other. I'm so alluring. I am wanted. I'm needed. Wonderful, darling. Love that. I want 2 SPs. I go back and forth between who I want. Should I just manifest being close to both? Yes, darling. Whichever way you'd like to do it. Hang on, guys. Did your body change at all when you did that? Yeah. Very much. I actually think parts of my body started becoming way more attractive to me. Well, they became more attractive to me, so I don't know if they're more attractive to other people, but I certainly saw them as completely different myself. Thank you, Loz, for the advice to Rocky. Oh, good. Loz, I'm in the most healthiest relationship after listening to you. This shit works. Tiffany! Wonderful. So if I think someone's mean, but they're nice to someone else and mean to me, it's because of me, because you've got a story they are mean to you, so they'll be an asshole to you and lovely to everyone else because you've got a story that you get picked on, or that person's an asshole, or that person doesn't like you. So start saying, they're sweet to me, they're so nice to me, they always say nice things to me, they're always complimenting me, they're not mean to me anymore, they used to be mean to me anymore, I remember when they used to be mean, they're so lovely to me now. Then have a story, because I am enough and I never get bullied anymore and I never get picked on. That was the old me, but I am enough and I know I'm worthy, and blah, 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 and start saying those things and watch them change. You'll see it. My father does not respect me. How do I change that? Stop saying he doesn't. Stop assuming he doesn't. Stop telling the story and banging the drum of my father doesn't respect me. Imagine he does. So how do we not be aware of 3D? Just keep affirming against what we don't like. Look, I know it's very hard when it's in front of you guys, but it needs to be like this. You know the dog in the meme, and he's sitting on his chair and the fire is burning around him and he's just got his coffee and it says, this is fine. That's what you're doing. Well, look at this shit that I created. Look at these shitty circumstances. Well, I'm changing them. You're not going like this. He's not sitting in the meme going, He's not inside the house going, oh my God, it's burning down. He's just, this is fine. That's what you need to be like. So you're going within your mind. This is fine. I can see it. I can see you. I see you. I see you, circumstances. I see you. But I am changing you. Then you go in your mind, we're so blissfully happily married. God, I remember when we weren't together. I remember when we were fighting. I remember when we weren't even talking. God, that was funny. Oh, look at us now. He loves me because I'm so special and beautiful and lovable and enough. Oh, he always tells me that every day. God, we're blissfully happily married. Oh, remember that third party? What was her name? Oh, she was a dumb bitch. Oh. Like that. Okay? That's how you deal with the 3D circumstances. Trying to ignore them when they're right in front of you can be very difficult. I mean, ignore them if you can. But sometimes it's a burning down house of a shit show and you can't, guys. So be like the dog in the meme. It's not being fake. It's acceptance that you created the circumstances and knowing you can change them, but you go within to change them. And then watch this video back on YouTube so you really understand how to change them, okay? And come and watch John's success story. Glad I found your page today. Oh, good. Loz is so funny. Oh, thank you, darling. What about inspired action with your SP? You don't know it's inspired until after the action, guys. There's no such thing as inspired action. That's code for I'm a fearful bitch who doesn't think they can do it with their mind. So I'm using words, delulu things like inspired action words to stop myself from thinking that I'm acting upon it instead of using my mind. You can take action in the 3D, guys, but you've got to be so confident it's going to have the outcome you want. Otherwise, do not take it and don't disguise it as inspired action. You don't know it's inspired until afterwards. How do you manifest through the day, Loz? Guys, we're always manifesting through the day. What do you mean? Join the squad, people. It's so worth it. Oh, thank you, darling. So, guys, you can come and join the squad at subconsciousloz.com on my link tree to come and watch John's interview this Friday, see Holly's interview, come and ask them questions. You can also go live with me. When I go live, there's the Mentor Mondays you can watch. There's also our upcoming course, Neville Made Easy, which is all about law of assumption, Neville Goddard's teachings made completely simplified for you guys so you really understand this. And there's the Love Challenge still in there at the moment, which is being pulled out soon. And you can ask the mentors and the other members questions in the Q&A forum. How do you manifest through the day, Loz? You mean, what am I doing to creatively manifest, like on purpose? Because I'm manifesting already. So just correcting your question. I am already unconsciously manifesting stuff. That's how my reality is created. That's how my circumstances are created. That's why circumstances don't matter. I'm unconsciously creating them with my subconscious mind, with thoughts I don't know I'm thinking. So to manifest throughout the day, I've got to be aware of what I'm thinking to manifest something that I actually want, not the shit I don't want, right? So what I do is I keep on top of my thoughts, and I no longer have the old shitty thoughts. And if I do, I turn them around very quickly, or I don't allow myself to spiral downward and thinking a whole story that's not true, or reading into things that aren't true, or being triggered by things that I'm reading into. I stop myself. I go back to my I amness of feeling enough and lovable and the situation I want to be in, and I go right to the end of being in that situation, in that circumstance that I want in my mind that I currently can't see. And then what I currently can't see doesn't bother me as much because I'm actually living in my mind more. So I want you to live up here, guys, not out here, because out here is dead. Got it? I like in the conversations, is it better to hear people congratulate about SP or directly talk to SP? Either, guys, it's semantics. It's whatever works best for you. I can't tell you what works best in your brain. Tips for manifesting a new job, even if we don't know what we want. Guys, it doesn't matter. Just imagine you've got your dream job. Imagine telling someone you got your dream job. Imagine you're in the dream job, even if you don't know what it is. Passed my driving test today by living in the end. Oh, wonderful, Simran. Congratulations. So excited for Neville Made Easy. Yeah, guys, it's going to be really great. The cover's really cute of the workbooks. Like, what's your manifesting routine personally? I don't actually have a routine, guys. I try and wake up in the morning, don't look at my phone straight away. I try to live in the end in the morning. Then throughout the day, I keep on top of my thinking. Then when I go for a walk, I try and affirm or have a new story or a rampage as I go for a walk in the afternoon. That's basically my routine, really. Yes, John's live. So excited, yes. Are you posting the link if we missed the live interview? So, guys, everything I do or everything the mentors do within the squad is saved within the news feed of the group because it's a Facebook group, private Facebook group. So all you need to do is scroll down the page or look up live interview or success live. Actually, we need to put a hashtag on that, success live, so you guys can find it. I'm in no contact. Well, then, if you think you're in no contact, you will be because that's your story. So imagine you're not. Imagine you're in contact. He loves me but wants to be just friends because you think he wants to be just friends. Guys, there's two shitty stories here. He just wants no friends. He doesn't just to be friends and he doesn't want to talk to me. So until you change the story that they want to talk to you and they don't want to be just your friend, you fucked it. Go and watch all my videos that are longer, please. Hi, Loz. Which of your courses do you recommend for absolute beginners? For absolute beginners, I would actually go to my website and get the free course. Everything you've learned about manifesting is wrong. It's free. Go and get it. It's on the homepage. Everything you learned about manifesting is wrong mini course. Do that. Then when you've done that, go and get a Kick-Ass You, which is my self-concept course, my fundamental course about self-concept. It's just gone back on my website. You can get it now. They're the two. All right, guys, I'm going to go. I'm working on my self-concept. Good, darling, good. So, guys, you can watch this back on YouTube, but remember, come and watch John's interview this week in the squad, 10:30 UK time on Friday. Otherwise, you can watch it back. If you're inside the squad, you can ask him questions. Otherwise, it will go onto YouTube the week later, but you won't get to ask him questions. Okay, and then Holly and Hal's interview will go on YouTube this week on Friday, and you can watch that back. It's an hour and a half of gold, especially with Hal answering most of the questions. He was really great. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. And if you're following me on TikTok, great. If you're not, do. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Bye, guys.